I tend to have a lot of anxiety regarding the day-to-day of life. And I think I'm anxious because I worry about how my daily activities fit into the grand scheme of things. For instance, one problem I have is that I'm very focused on my career and on working. And so I find it very difficult to take breaks and to step away from work. And technically, I'm supposed to be on a break from making videos, but I'm literally filming this video on a break. I think I seem to have trouble with taking breaks and accepting that certain things don't make a difference in the long run. There are a lot of things that do make a difference in the long run. So for instance, if you want to be a novelist, you have to write a novel over a period of time. It's not something that you can just generate in an entire day. If you want to make a long form video, usually you have to work on it over a series of days or weeks even. If you want to write and record an album or even a song, generally speaking, that's something that's done over a period of days. And so I think it is really important to focus on the big picture view of things and to realize how the day-to-day fits in there. I think it's very important to have this mindset that basically if you don't do the work, nothing's going to happen. And I think that's an issue that we see a lot, and that's an issue I've seen in my own life where we sort of think to ourselves, you know, I can put this off. With regards to writing, there have been plenty of days, probably thousands of days, honestly, where I've skipped writing because I'm just like, I can do it tomorrow. And so that's really depressing to think about, basically, all the wasted days where I didn't do anything, and now as a result, I have less writing done. And so the day-to-day is very important. But one idea I've been thinking about a lot over the past day is actually the reverse of that. That if you focus on the big picture, there are certain things in the day-to-day that honestly don't have that big of an effect. I tend to be someone who overthinks things, and I tend to think about how every single little thing fits into the bigger picture, but honestly, that's just not all that useful. Again, as I'm saying, if you want to write a novel, you gotta write over a long period of time, and so in that sense, each day that you write fits into the bigger picture. But I tend to worry a lot about how I will be perceived in the future. I tend to often think about how my future self will look back on me in the current moment. I tend to have this view where it's like, if I don't make every single day count, and if every single action does not lead up to the big picture, then it's all gonna fall apart. Basically, I tend to have this crazy, intense worldview, and that's not a good thing. I'm not advocating for it. And that's specifically what I'm advocating against with this video. And so I think there are a lot of things in our daily lives, little things that count and that add up and create the sort of life that we want to live. If you want a sustainable, long career, then that is something that is built up over a long period of time. If you want a body of work, an intense body of work, of stories, of videos, of music, of songs, recordings, whatever, if you want any of these things, then they are built up by putting work in over a series of days and years. But this is one thing that I'm having to remind myself of. Not every single action that I take matters in the long run. What I mean to say is that this intense view of my career and work that I hold translates over into my social life when it probably shouldn't. So for instance, I find it far too easy to sort of slip into this long view of things when hanging out with someone. If I hang out with someone once, then all of a sudden I'm like, will this person be my friend going forward? How will this affect me going forward? Is this a good person for me to be hanging out with? And the same exact thing carries over to dating. In my head, a first date is a much bigger thing than it realistically should be. A first date shouldn't be anything crazy. It should just be hanging out with a person for a couple hours, talking, getting to know them, maybe doing an activity, getting lunch, dinner, whatever. But really, a first date, I think, shouldn't be anything too extreme. But still, oftentimes I'll have it in my head where I'll be like, okay, you know, a first date leads to a second date, which leads to a third date and a fourth date, blah, blah, blah. And the same goes for job interviews, where I have gone into job interviews and I've been like, okay, what will my life be like if I'm working here 4 years from now? And so I will just take this crazy big picture view of things that I really don't need to have. And in fact, I think it overcomplicates things. I think that taking a big picture view of things that you realistically shouldn't be taking a big picture view of, I think that can make them worse. I think that can make you more anxious, and not only that, but it takes you away from the present moment and puts you into the future. And as I've said before, many times before, you don't know how the future is going to turn out. I don't know how the future is going to turn out. New opportunities present themselves, new people show up in your life. There will be new things coming out and new music and new movies, new books. I don't know what my life is going to look like in 5 years or even a year from now. And I think the odds are pretty good that you don't know what your life is going to look like 5 years from now. And so really, I think the core of the idea that I'm trying to share is just that it's okay to try new things. And I think it's okay to just take it from there without thinking too much about the future. Just because you do something once, just because you go out with someone once, just because you succeed in a job interview, that doesn't mean that you have to integrate those things into your life. Even if you start something new, even if there are a lot of people I know who try to make YouTube videos and they stop after a while. I think that's fine. I think in all of these things, I think if you work for a place and then you realize it's not for you, or you go on a couple dates with someone and you realize it's not for you, I think these are okay things. And so I don't think that you have to worry about how they fit into the big picture of your life. until you get there. And I think that as I've tried to maintain this sort of worldview, as I've tried to realize that not everything fits into the big picture of my career, it's caused me to open up and to do more things more regularly. One example of this I was thinking of is that at one point in time I had painted black nails. It was something that I had for roughly a year, give or take, and that's kind of all it was, is I had it for a year and now I don't, and that's, you know, that's what it was. And sometimes I think that's kind of all there is to something. You did it once, or you tried it out for a bit and you didn't like it and you moved on. If you do like someone, or you like something, you like a job, you like an opportunity, then you can continue going with it. But this video is just sort of a reminder to myself that not everything, not every single little action has to fit into the big grand plan of your life. I think it's important to focus on the grand plan of your life. And so for me, that's like writing and making videos right now. For me, every single day that I write is a brick in the wall of my writing career, so to speak. And so that really is kind of the grand project, if I have one, but not everything fits into that grand project. And so I do think I have a tendency to struggle with anxiety and worry. And I have this idea that I always need to do the right thing. I think sometimes all there is to these things is what's on the surface. I think sometimes certain things don't mean anything deeper. And so what I'm saying with this is that it's good to focus on the big things, but not everything is a big thing. It's good to focus on the grand plan of your life, but not everything plays into that. And so I think with this in mind, hopefully I can find it easier to take breaks. And really, I think that's what I got. I'm gonna go to the gym with my buddy. So thank you for watching. Have a nice night and goodbye.